the next question I want to ask you is about your journey. How has your leadership journey been? Where did you start? When was the first time you got very conscious of leading, of leadership, of
Okay.
calling to lead and things like that? When did it first come to you?
Okay.
And how has the journey been?
Yeah. I must say it has not been without its challenges. It's been very rough at some point. But I started way back in the senior high school. When I was actually part of the debaters club. And so, and I had a good team. And I think that people relied on some of us a lot. And I believe that even at that level, I realized that people were actually relying on me or relying on the team members. And so you could not afford to fail them. And for me, that was some responsibility I was carrying. And I actually did not want to let my team down. So I had to do all that it took to make sure that we always brought home the gold. And I think that during our time at the senior high school, the school actually won a lot of debate competitions, and we got the opportunity to even represent Western and Central regions at a Founders Day debate competition in Accra. And so for me, the bottom line is that people are looking up to you. And that is, for me, actually helped build my sense of responsibility, that once you are the helm of affairs and you're doing something and people are looking up to you, you cannot afford to fail them. And so what does it take to succeed? And so I think in some way it actually also made me a bit competitive. So I never settle for mediocrity. And whenever I am involved in something, I give it my best. And I always tell myself, hey, we do not even want second place, we want first place. So for me, that is it. I always want to achieve high standards, and where everybody is settling for anything, I always want to achieve outstanding results. For me, that is it. And then I also got the opportunity to become the assistant girls prefect at the senior high school. My twin sister was the senior girls prefect, and I was the assistant.
I was going to ask.
They didn't even know we were siblings, or we were even twins. So she was actually the number one tip, and I was actually at the bottom somewhere as number 10. I think people voted for me. I was very smallish and very thin, just because I was very popular and I did debates competition. And even back then, it was only a little recently that I realized that there was a leadership position. It's not just the leading, but then the style and what it took to actually lead the team. So of course you have all teachers supporting you, and people know that they cannot do the wrong thing. And so you have the opportunity to lord it over people, but that was not my style. Nobody told me anything, but even when I had to enforce some punitive measure, I wasn't aware of that. Somebody drew my attention. Hey, you were calling somebody to do something because the person had come to school late, but still you used please come. Could you please do this? I actually wasn't aware that I have done that, but it's actually not in me to lord it over people. I always have treated people with respect, because I believe that in inspiring people, you are also able to achieve results or achieve set goals. So that was also something I was conscious of, even in the senior high school. Then back in the university, I think I also got the opportunity to serve with some of you on the core team for the Catholic Charismatic Renewal back in school. And so I had the opportunity, I was an outreach minister. And so I got the opportunity to visit every girls senior high school to, engage them, to talk to them about God. It was evangelism. Sometimes I went alone, sometimes I went with another individual if we had a lot of hands available. And I think that also built my confidence in a way. And from there, so when I left school and I started my career life, I was actually a pupil teacher after senior high school. I taught French even before I went to the university. And so back in the workplace, usually you are not part of senior management. And usually for the work that I've done in the fisheries and in the biodiversity and climate change sector, it's you have a lot of meals, and I am just one female in the midst of a lot of men, and sometimes, it's a cultural thing sometimes in Ghana, and sometimes they call you to the table to also bring your ideas and all of that. So I realized that even there, even though I wasn't a leader, as in a boss or a manager, I was called in to contribute to some discussions or decision making. And for me, that has also inspired me a lot to also be an inclusive leader, one who actually consults others, in decision making. So for me, yes, these are some of the things I've picked along the ladder. And I believe that it's not just about playing a managerial role as I do now, but it's also about picking different traits. We believe that leadership is innate and people are born with it. I also believe that it's a blend of that, and you pick from the environment. So that is it for me.
Thank you. Thank you. Antaba, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
So what will you say is your leadership style? If you push you to put a name to your leadership style.
I do a blend of different leadership styles.
Okay.
It depends on the situation.
Which one and which one?
Yes. So I do inspirational leadership. There is the transactional leadership, ethical leadership, and I could give some examples why I'm saying this. So I'm predominantly an inspirational leader, and Forbes actually has how do we call it? Forbes talks about some 6 traits of an inspirational leader. At some point, he says there are some 7 characteristics of an inspirational leader. And Daniel, one reason why I believe your organization or your institution is doing a great job is that I believe you are also able to, because you're also a leadership expert, you are able to actually look at individuals and profile them. And I like is it Quincy Adams quotes that you used? That defines me. Yes,
I fell in love with it.
Yeah, that defines me. And I think that is on point. So a leader is one who is able to inspire people to do more, to learn more, to dream more. Yes, for me, I believe that is me. And just to give a few examples, what Forbes actually says is that for an inspirational leader, you have to be one of integrity. So you are committed to a set of values and you do not bend, whether push comes to shove or whether you are even under pressure. So for me, that is one thing that has characterized my leadership style or my leadership journey. I do not actually settle for anything. And as I said initially, it's not about settling for mediocrity. So I believe that I'm being paid to do some job and people are looking up to me. I do not have to, let them down. So for one, if I'm given a task to do, first of all, I treat it as every organization where I work, I treat it as my own organization. And that if this is my organization, what would I do differently? How am I going to do it? And people have always believed me for those set of values. And one thing, it's also about showing integrity as one who is value driven. So I believe that the youth of today, it's a pet peeve and sometimes I'm worried that the youth of today wants things very quickly. They want quick money. And so sometimes you are coaching somebody for an interview and the first thing, so when I go, the first thing they're asking, what is the salary benchmark? What should I say? And I tell myself, it's not even something you have to think about, especially when you're national service, you're just completing school. Think about the work first. How do you contribute to something? And there are people who always want to be paid for, bribed, or let's say tipped for work that they are doing, they are already being paid to do. I believe that for me, that is one thing that doesn't sit well with me. And people believe that, yes, if I'm also a person of integrity, once they entrust me with something, they confide in me, it's not something that I'm going to, renege on. So I actually stick to my word. I keep to my word, and I honor that hey, this is between you and me, and I keep it. There was actually a boss whom I actually went to confide in him, and he actually used it against me during my performance review. I was actually shocked. So for a leader, you have to be a person of integrity. You have to have a set of values and you have to stick by them. And that is, for me, is inspirational leadership. People have to trust you. People have to know that you stick to some set of values and you never renege on those. So that is one. Forbes also says that you have to invest in people. You have to develop talents. And for me, that is, it's in sync with transformational leadership. And so for me, I remember when I joined one project in 2017, there was a lot of, complaints and concern, let me put it that way, that the individuals, especially the communications team members, were not putting in their best and they weren't doing so well and so on. And I asked, so what has been done? And then it looked like it was all about complaining, telling them that, hey, you are not doing the right thing. I believe that no individual is born stupid or bad. Everybody has been endowed. God has endowed every individual with a set of talents. And for me, that's also where the transactional leadership comes in. Hey, you are paying somebody to do the work, so make sure they achieve the set targets. How do you do that? Do you have to build the person's capacity? So you have to build your people, your followers or your team members up. You have to build their capacities up so that they are also able to take up leadership positions. Some people do not even, how do we call this? They do not delegate. If it's delegation, it's just something small they are asking you to do. It's not leadership. You are not building the capacity. Give them major roles to play. That way, when it comes to stories, you are the lead on this. When it comes to developing fact sheets or media engagements, you are the lead on this. Don't just ask the person, hey, write a press release and that's it. It's not developing the person enough. Now, when I got on board and I heard all this, I decided to institute a skill cafe every month. And so every month I had to take the team through some training, and sometimes we did some training on story harvesting, on success stories, on how to write good reports or how to do quality write-ups and so on. And in no time they picked up. So I believe that even when you are not around as a leader, people should be able to step in your shoes and do what you were able to do. And for me, there are people who believe that, hey, if I allow a lot of people to know what I'm doing, then it's trade secret or sort of, and that is my competitiveness. It's the skill that I have. Once everybody gets to know about it, then what do I have? But if you are actually an inspirational leader and you develop your team so much that they are able to stand on their own, next time, of course, they wouldn't need your support, but then you are also developing yourself. And so you are able to take on higher roles. And for me, once you teach others to do something, you even learn more and you discover other potentials that it's actually leads to more self-awareness, and you are able to build on from there. Forbes also talks about radiating authenticity. For me, people sometimes believe that I have had it all rosy, but no. My parents had a lot of money, but it got to a time where we didn't have at all, and it wasn't good at all. So moving from a very good preparatory school, where an international school, you now had to move to a school that you weren't too happy with. And then another, let's say, seeking higher education, even in the secondary school, some schools you didn't appreciate, but that was what you had to live with because your parents didn't have. For me, that was humbling. And I always, when I have the opportunity to engage the youth, that is one thing I tell them, that it's not about the quick money, but it's about making sure that you are humble enough and diligently do every work that you've been asked to do. Once you put quality touch to whatever you are doing, it actually makes you very, very competitive on the job market. Everybody wants you. There is no organization that I haven't left that hasn't wanted me back. At some point, 3 people were employed and they couldn't hold the fort. And this is not actually to brag or anything, but it's because I went the extra mile. And at the end of the day, they wanted me back. But of course, some of us had moved on. Today, if I want a reference from these people, they would always come back to me. So once I share some of these personal experiences, it actually encourages more people to do the right thing. I would say the last thing about being approachable and inclusive, being inclusive. So as an inspirational leader, I like to be somebody with an open door, I have an open door policy. And there are some leaders people cannot even approach. But for me, some communications officers can say, I have this question, but it seems like a stupid question. But it's never like that with me. They always are able to come to me to ask questions that they think are stupid or, undeserving of an answer, response. And I'm always able to help with that. And in terms of inclusivity, in terms of decision making, you might be a smart person, but you do not know everything. So it's always also important to involve others in decision making. And sometimes we say when you are a skillful communicator, it means that you are able to, put across your vision very clearly so that people are able to follow. But one other important thing is being an active listener. Once you put across your ideas, your objectives, allow people the opportunity also to take part of the, be part of the decision making, so that at the end of the day, they feel that, hey, I also own this process. Once you have people who have bought into your ideas because they believe that they are part of it, they would actually support it wholeheartedly. And for me, there are leaders who actually always take the shine of their followers. When somebody has helped you to do something, and for instance, you present it to your boss, you shouldn't say that, oh, I did A, B, and C. For me, I believe it's even appropriate to copy those individuals who supported you to do that on the email and say, I did this with A, B, and C. Once you acknowledge that they have been part of the process and they do not even, it's work that they detest, they would willingly do it. And there are organizations, finally, organizations where a lot of leaders, or let me put it this way, a lot of managers believe that a lot of things are working well. And they're wondering if productivity is going so high, and sometimes they think it's their efforts, but it's those leaders who are not part of management, who are influencing the team, with a lot of inspirations and a lot of, that can do attitude, getting them to do more. So once you are able to get people to do more, it actually builds the team up. There is that teamwork. People want to do more. That is what we call citizenship behaviors. People actually do more than is transcribed or is spelled out in their terms of references. And for me, that is it. So sometimes you realize that the work is difficult, there is low morale, but there is one person or two people who come on board and all of a sudden people want to do more. Those are the people you pay attention to. And for me, that is inspirational leadership.
On this leadership journey of yours, on this journey of influencing, of impacting other people and contributing your quota and all that, do you have some people who have been supportive on your leadership journey? Are there people who, have contributed to getting you where you are?
Yeah. So when I became a journalist, when I was in the media, my boss, he's now a politician, Natha from Sky Media Group, actually told me that for every story that you do, make sure there is that human element, that compelling angle. So why are you doing it? And what is the benefit to the audience, the one who is actually listening or watching your story? So for me, it made me realize that in all the work that I'm doing, I have to make sure that people benefit from it. So for me, it made me focused. That the end goal always has to be in sight. I always had to have that in mind. And that is also one thing that helped me build those qualities of as in always doing quality work and not settling for mediocrity, because at the end of the day, it has to be very beneficial to the end user of your products. And so that was one. I moved on to my first USAID project. There was my chief of party, the director of the project, Mark Fenn. He's a forester and an American. Mark Fenn as one leader who's inspired me so much. Mark So, we have a lot of, especially in, it's something that is typical of our Ghanaian leaders, if I'm not being prejudiced, but it's based on my experience, that sometimes they want to force people to do things that they themselves are not ready to do. So there are times when I had wanted to work from home, and then he'll say, oh, Patricia, go ahead and work from home. There are times when so let me give a very specific example. We were supposed to travel to the West Coast, let's say the Halfasni and all of that. And moving from Takoradi, you head towards the West. And my home is along the routes, but there are some leaders who will tell you, come to the office. They just want to be firm. Come to the office and pick a car and then go. Meanwhile, he will tell you, wait, we'll come and pick you at your junction or at your home. And this is a person who was very firm, but when it came to these things, he was very reasonable about it. So I think I also drew some experiences from there that if I become a leader, I do not have to put my colleagues or my team members in a tight situation. If whatever is flexible and makes the work very comfortable and very, as in easy for them, I have to do that. And for me, that was also one thing that I picked. And moving on, when I had to move to Accra for a follow-on project, another boss, I think he has inspired me so much as well. Brian Crawford believed in me even for things that I didn't believe myself for. When I was supposed to take on this role, I actually didn't think I could do it because they had to do with dealing with 8 big organizations, and I was going to supervise their communications activities. And I told myself, this is the first major project, moving from supervising national service persons to Peace Corps volunteers. Now I'm going to supervise real communications officers. And I actually, of course, went to God in prayer. I had to go to a hideout and God said, you can do it. But then I think that was what gave me the favor. And this man actually entrusted to me a lot of things that I even felt I couldn't do. But at the end of the day, it was so funny that I achieved them seamlessly, of course, with a team. And I think that he believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. So he gave me a lot of responsibilities and he believed in me. So he gave me that confidence to do more. And at some point I was not rubbing shoulders, but I came into the presence of big people like ministers sitting in the same meetings and, having discussions with them and so on. Sherry Aite was one minister that I sat in same meetings with, the fisheries commission director, who is somebody who was not very easy to deal with. I came into the presence of all these people and they were so, even though people saw them as difficult people, because I was ready to learn and I was also a bit confident because my boss had actually capacitated me, it actually helped build my confidence a lot. So these are 2 people. And finally, there is one person, our CEO of Bizarre Africa, Taka Aweri, she actually did a leadership session for us. It was a change management session. I just looked at her and I told myself that this lady, I have to be like this lady. I have to be like this woman. So she inspired me so much. And that was why I even decided to venture into organizational leadership and governance. And so for me, I desired to become an organizational development, expert or change management expert. And that is one thing that I'm working towards achieving. Georgina Theodore Wood, the former Chief Justice, has also inspired me. And I told you that I'm also an ethical leader. I think that my parents, my mom and my dad, have instilled in us a lot of ideals, a lot of values, that nobody can take away from us. And I think for me, that is one thing that has made me hardworking. It's given me that sense of duty, responsibility on the job and so on. So these are a few persons who've inspired me on my leadership journey.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You inspire me a lot too.
You also inspire me, Daniel, a lot.
That's why we need to talk that prophetic aspect. One of the things I've noticed, maybe I've not said this to you before, but it's about your messages that you will send to me. And sometimes it will come with a scripture. Sometimes it will come with a prayer, the birthday messages and all that. And I've seen fulfillment of them in my life.
Oh,
yes.
bless God.
So
bless God.
I have the opportunity today. I want to tell the whole world that you play such a role, that you're able to speak prophetically, and the manifestations show. So
Thank
you
God.
don't just do communication. That's why I was asking you about the
Prophetic.
communications and the prophetic, because of what I have experienced. But thank you for being
Thank
you
you for having
for
me.
us and for all the people. Thank you very much. We pray that as you on this trajectory, that you continue to grow, that you continue to soar, and you continue to set that example for all of us, and to inspire all of us to seek to achieve more and to seek to do more with the gifts and the talents that God has given to you, to all of us, whether it's prophetic or it's communication or it's in leadership. Here we are. Thank you very much, and God bless you.